Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. The first marquee primary race of the year takes place tomorrow, the unofficial start of the midterm season kicking off in the state of Ohio, with the race to replace retiring Republican Senator Rob Portman. He was first elected in 2010 after he worked in the George W. Bush administration. He's cut from an older Republican cloth. He's often described as a moderate, though I think that's a little contestable, but he does sometimes break with the party line. Most notably, and for our purposes here, he did not support Donald Trump's attempt of a coup to overturn the results of the 2020 election. But the men vying to take Portman's place are a very different story. Hillbilly Elegy author J.D. Vance, former state treasurer Josh Mandel, and businessman Mike Gibbons have been trying to out-MAGA each other for months. They have clearly been performing for an audience of one, doing everything in their power to suck up to the ex-president in really extremely cringe-inducing fashion. For example, there was a time that Josh Mandel was apparently so moved by seeing a Trump sign amid his fury about President Biden's vaccine requirement that he felt compelled to pull over on the side of the road and film this video.
I'm driving through western Ohio. We're driving through a cornfield near a town called Loganville, Ohio. My blood is boiling, enraged at what I've seen from the White House today, trampling on our freedom, trampling on our liberty, trampling on what I took an oath to defend when I joined the Marine Corps. Joe Biden, I'm not even going to call him President Biden, he's not. Joe Biden is creating a constitutional crisis. And as I was driving through this cornfield, I literally came across this sign, this Trump sign, he is my president.
Yeah, moving and powerful stuff. One of the most memorably humiliating incidents came when Josh Mandel and Gibbons had to be separated during a campaign forum in March.
My opponent, Mr. Gibbons, was making billions of dollars by shipping Ohio businesses to China. He took Perfect Fit LLC, and Mike, why don't you explain to everyone why you sold it to a company called Shanghai Shenda? That was in 2015, while President Trump was campaigning against China.
You may not understand this because you've never been in the private. No, you don't.
I do.
You've never been in the private sector in your entire life.
I've worked, sir.
Josh, squat.
Two tours in Iraq. Don't tell me I haven't worked. Don't tell me I haven't worked.
You don't know squat.
It's okay, right?
You don't know squat.
They are adorable. Oh, but it was J.D. Vance and his embarrassing slew of public reversals, even scrubbing his Twitter feed, apologizing for the many times he previously criticized Donald Trump, who actually ended up landing the ex-president's endorsement, and he was rewarded with this instantly iconic, legendary flub from over the weekend.
By the way, 33-0 in Texas. I was 3 on endorsements, 33-0. And, you know, if I lost one race, they'd say Trump was humiliated. That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for one race. You know, we've endorsed Dr. Oz. We've endorsed JP, right? J.D. Mandel, and he's doing great.
Of course, it is, as we said, J.D. Vance and Josh Mandel. He matched them together. It brought us right back to this other truly classic Trump gaffe from the 2018 State of the Union.
Here tonight is one leader in the effort to defend our country. Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent Celestino Martinez. He goes by DJ and CJ. He said, call me either one. So we'll call you CJ.
Call me either one. Special Agent Celestino Martinez with the C does not and never did go by DJ. That would make no sense whatsoever, just to close the loop on that. But the way things are going in Ohio, honestly, J.D. Vance will probably be getting J.P. Mandel tattooed on his face. If that's what Trump wants to call him, that's who he's going to be. Maybe that'll be the name of him if he's a senator. Now, there is one candidate in Ohio who has decided, whether out of conviction or opportunism, to run in a kind of non-MAGA lane. State Senator Matt Dolan has refused to bow down the ex-president. He's even accused him of, quote, perpetuating lies about the outcome of the election, and was the only candidate at a recent debate to agree that Trump should move on.
Do you think, as some high-level Republicans have suggested, that for the betterment of the Republican Party, it's time for Donald Trump to stop talking about the 2020 election and move on? If yes, if you think he should move on, raise your hand.
Now, that actually seems to be working for Matt Dolan. He's showing a late surge, coming in just second, just behind Vance in this last-minute poll conducted over the past few days. You see, it's a tight race. So it's going to be a really interesting story to watch tomorrow night. Watch Matt Dolan. That would be a really, really striking story. Now, the bigger context here is that while Ohio is a red state that has definitely been trending more Republican, it's not Mississippi or Alabama or Wyoming. Donald Trump won Ohio comfortably. He won by 8 points in 2020, 53 to 45%. Not particularly close, but not a blowout. Also, Ohio has a Democratic senator named Sherrod Brown, frequent guest in the program, who was just reelected to his third term in 2018. Whoever wins this open seat this year will be serving with him. So to be clear, whoever wins this primary tomorrow, they're absolutely the favorite to win the general election in the fall. There's no question about that. But nothing is guaranteed. I mean, you do not have to go back very far to find examples of Republican primary voters elevating candidates who completely collapsed in the general election. In 2010, it was Christine O'Donnell of I Am Not a Witch fame, who came out of nowhere in the Republican Senate primary in Delaware. O'Donnell, the Tea Party favorite, beat out former governor and longtime Congressman Mike Castle, who almost certainly would have won in the general easily. Instead, Democrat Chris Coons easily beat O'Donnell for that Senate seat. He will likely hold on to it for as long as he likes. And that wasn't a one-off occurrence. Republicans probably lost 4 or 5 seats this way in the Obama years. And so these primaries, they matter for a bunch of reasons. They matter, of course, in terms of shaping the texture and agenda of one of just 2 coalitions, major parties in American life, the Republican Party, especially their views on democracy. A lot of the primary races we are seeing this year are essentially between big lie promoters and big lie skeptics, or at least less vociferous big liars. The outcome in those contested races, Georgia comes to mind, will help determine how much the party continues to just frankly pledge itself to enable Donald Trump's authoritarianism and to be on board with future coups should the opportunity arise. There are also the broader political ramifications that we will see in November. Of course, we know that when a party controls both houses of Congress and the presidency, they tend to lose seats and have a hard time in the midterms, especially when you got a situation like now when inflation is at 8%. But to quote a sports cliche, that's why they play the game. Things happen. There are external factors, and candidate quality and messaging matter. And the way the world looks in May is not necessarily what it will look like in November. I mean, Lord knows, right? We should have internalized this by now. We have seen that happen in the last few years. A pandemic, now a land war on the European continent. Who knows what is in store over the next 6 months? I mean, abortion rights in this country, Roe v. Wade, 50 years of it, may be gutted, decimated, thrown out with the Supreme Court ruling expected next month. We have no idea what the state of the pandemic will be. A million different things could happen with the economy. We already have evidence that the world of today is not necessarily the same world of just a month ago. This new polling out today shows the Democrats have caught up on a generic congressional ballot. 46% of voters saying they would vote for a Democratic candidate in their district if the election were held today. President Biden's approval rating has gone up, gaining 5 points since February in this same Washington Post and ABC News polling. Now, again, that's one poll. A poll tomorrow might say something different, but it is true that oil prices have come down considerably since their peak in March. Some economists believe that inflation, which clearly has been a kind of thorn in the side for the Democrats, has peaked. That could start coming down. So again, who runs in these races, in Senate races, in congressional races, in statewide races, and Secretary of State elections that are going to oversee elections, what messages they use, how they speak to voters, what they campaign on, all that really matters. And these primaries, amidst the maelstrom, whatever comes, are going to determine an extremely crucial outcome because nothing is yet written in stone.